Hello, hello. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. My name is Aldwyn, Altuney from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And my name is Ken Kleinberg, and I am coming to you all the way from the USA in San Diego County, California.
Yeah, and my name is Rob Greenlee, and I'm coming to you from Connecticut, also in the US, but on the East Coast. So it's great to be here.
Fantastic. We're going to be chatting today about the truth about podcasting and online media straight after this short introduction.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show, hosted by myself, Ken Kleinberg from San Diego County, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And our goal here on this show is to help you to break away from the mainstream media propaganda and lies, the disinformation and misinformation that's out there in the mainstream, and really help you to start questioning everything and start doing the research for yourself. We want to punch through all of that disinformation and misinformation. Our goal here is to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass and then pave the way for a new awakened civilization. And we would love for you to come along for the ride. Don't take our word for it. The things that we share here on the show, that goes for our guests too. Start doing the research for yourself. Start going and asking the questions for yourself. Get out there and really find the real truth behind things. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Oh, yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited about today's show. Of course, we know podcasting has gone crazy in the last few years, and we're going to talk a lot more about it. In fact, in 2018, did you know there was only about 500,000 podcasts worldwide? And now we're at a time where there's 2 to 3 million podcasts is the last I saw. 2 to 3 million is the stats, and not many of them are regularly doing podcasts, not many show hosts. So we're going to talk a lot more about that today with our amazing special guest. We've got the co-host Ken Kleinberg here today, and of course Rob Greenlee. A little bit about Rob. He is the CEO and founder of Spoken Life Media. He is the co-founder of Podcast Advisor of PodcastEZ.com, and he has over 18 years of podcasting experience. So he's a perfect guy to be chatting today about the truth about podcasting and online media. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic to have you here. So, Rob, 18 plus years of podcasting. I think a lot of people didn't even know what a podcast was back then. How did you first get into podcasting?
Well, I really started in the radio side back in 1999. So I started doing a show about technology, the web, and the internet development that was happening back in that era, and did that show for 6-7 years or so on radio, basically. But I was doing a lot of streaming too, and it was pre-podcasting. So by the time podcasting started in 2004, I was actually already distributing like an MP3 version of my show on various other proprietary platforms already. So for me, it wasn't really that big of a groundbreaking thing. I was already doing MP3 distribution of my show. So, and then a lot of streaming back in those days, because the bandwidth wasn't quite as ubiquitous as it is now. So, people getting drips of internet is really what it was back then. Now it's like a fire hose, right? All of us can do these live video stuff now. And back then you just couldn't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. We've come a long way when it comes to live streaming, and a lot of people say I've got a face for radio, and so they hide behind.
Yeah, I thought that too. So I started doing more video anyway.
So I must say, with our show here, Total Truth Show, we do a video interview and then we strip the audio and we put it up on Anchor, and it goes out to all the podcast platforms. So that's something that I do encourage people to do if they are going to do a podcast, because I love the power of video. And they say, if a photo is worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000 words. And I think it's a great thing to build trust, to actually have video and to also have an audio, because people like to absorb information in different ways.
Right.
And we've got Tanner here. Hello, Tanner. Good to see you. Woohoo, Rob, he says. Woohoo, StreamYard. That is correct. We are using StreamYard. And there's actually a link here at the top. If you hop on that link, you'll get $10 US off if you do an upgraded plan. There is a free plan with StreamYard. This is just one live streaming platform that you can use. I've got the top version of StreamYard. We're going to 8 different platforms at the moment with this video live stream. We're going out to Facebook, several places on Facebook, some groups. We've got LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We're going out to. My pleasure there, Tanner. And also we've got Anita Sonia, which is actually where Rob and I met, was on a live streaming summit with Sonia from Bali. Hello from Bali. Good to see you, Sonia. She likes to be called Sonia, even though she's got Anita Sonia there. So we say Sonia. Great to see you guys. Thank you so much. And keep the comments coming. Let us know where you are coming from. And if you have any questions around podcasting, then let us know. Now, Rob, it fascinates me that most podcasts only have 3 episodes out there. And last time I looked at the stats, there's only about 44% that have over 10 episodes of podcasting out there. So a lot of people just do not have that resilience, that consistency. Why are people like this, do you think, Rob?
Well, for a lot of reasons, people start and stop podcasts. They change jobs, or they have a baby, or they move or something. And there's just constant disruption in people's lives. And though I would say that the podcasters that are the most successful are the ones that are consistent and have been doing it for at least a couple of years to build a relationship with an audience. So it's not a good thing to pod fade, but sometimes that's just a requirement in life. So you can always start it back up again. That's always my, once the dust settles and you can restart the podcast again after you've gotten your life under control. And I think that's the biggest reason why it happens, or those combinations of reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also there's a lot of people now that just want instant gratification, right? We just want everything happening. Like, go and put a podcast in and we expect 1 million viewers straight away.
Right. Well, that's another factor. I agree with you. If the show doesn't grow fast enough, if they're not like, turn into Joe Rogan in a month, they're disappointed, right?
Yes.
So even though the truth about Joe Rogan is it took him like 6 years to grow his show to the size it is. So, so there's no free lunch here. You got to earn your way, just like you do in anything else in life.
Now, I know for me, like, I have a podcast, one that I do on my own. It's called Patriot Fat Fighter Ken.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my goals behind that podcast is similar to what we do here on the Total Truth Show, but I put out more content based on health and wellness in the food industry and the lies of that industry, and exposing that and showing people what the truth around these things are and what the real truth behind food and certain angles of food. So, I mean, I do that and I love doing that. And so, I mean, I'm not looking to build a big giant audience and, all this other stuff, but I use it as a resource to send people to, hey, check out this episode on this, check out this episode on that. Yeah. Here's the challenge that I have been facing, especially recently. So there's a lot of different things that have been going on in the background of my life and in business, and trying to rev a few things up with my own brand and business and everything else as a coach. And what I'm finding is happening with me is I've got content built for future episodes, but as far as getting the time now to actually then record an episode, go back and edit it, and doing all that, man, I feel like I'm dragging my feet lately. It's been like 7-8 weeks since I put out a new episode, and I'm oftentimes sitting in the background kind of beating myself up over that. It's like, well, no, my goal was to put out a new episode like every 2 to 2.5 weeks, and I'm definitely not making that. So not sure what you would say to something like that, and how to maybe overcome that kind of a challenge. But that's the challenge I'm facing with mine.
Yeah, I think it's an early sign of the creeping progression of what they call pod fading. So I think one of the challenges, though, that you're probably facing is that you're probably pre-producing too many episodes. But that's kind of a decision that each of the podcasters need to decide is, it can be easier if you can batch produce them and then publish them on a regular cadence, and even stage them for release in the future, right? But there's a lot of grunt work that goes into podcasting, around creating show notes and metadata and publishing and getting links, and like a lot of the stuff that we went through to get before we started this show is it's not always an easy path. And I know, working in the industry for as long as I have, with all sorts of different hosting platforms and doing live shows myself, I do a live show like this every Wednesday as well. And it's pushed out to all the same type of platforms as this show is. We tried to keep it very simple. And granted, there's advantages and disadvantages to keeping it really simple, is that you're probably missing some opportunities around the context of SEO and things like that. But what you gain is your life back. And that's one of the things that I've kind of gravitated towards too, is, less editing, less concern about the small things in the show, and really more focused on natural conversation and natural things like we're doing here. I mean, I think this is a terrific thing, or a terrific show that has conversation about important topics, and that's really what the show should be about, and that's what's going to connect with listeners and viewers in this case, the most. It's not all of the detail work that goes into it that's necessarily as productive, but hopefully what we'll see happen with this AI technology, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, hopefully that technology will streamline some of this production process, is what I'm hopeful. I just hope that AI doesn't create artificial content. So that's the concern. But if we can streamline processes that will get people to really focus on natural conversations and conversations that inspire people in podcasts, I think that's the net gain.
I often use AI as more of a template. I think there's a very careful
starter point.
Very careful balance when you're using AI to produce content. I don't want to become one of those people that is just using AI for everything, because then I lose my edge on the deep research that I do to come up with the content for my episodes. Because I mean, I talk about some very controversial things like cholesterol, the lies that we've been told around cholesterol. And then I go through and I give proof. I go, look at this site, look at this article, look at this. And I give places where people can go to find that. AI can't do that for me.
Right. Not yet anyway, but
not yet.
But I really like the content that you're working on, because I think food is a huge issue in the world. I think people have a lot of misunderstandings about food and what's good for the human body and what's not. I think we've been brainwashed by the food industry. I used to work in the food industry, so I worked probably half of my work career working for big food companies in the U.S. So from meat packing companies to Healthy Choice, ConAgra, Butterball, all those big food brands. So I have a pretty good perspective. I've been through lots of slaughter plants and slaughtering facilities and hot dog making plants, and so I see what happens in there. That was much earlier in my work career. I used to own a restaurant too for about 5 years. So yeah, I think food, and I've recently over the last 2 years made huge changes in how I look at food and what I do. I've been getting into fasting and keto, and I've really been able to transform my health, really come back from some pretty serious potential diseases in my body over the last couple of years by changing my diet. So
yeah, fantastic. I saw a movie recently called The Whale about this really obese guy. I don't know if you've seen it. It's full on. I thought of you, Ken, as I was watching this, with this guy called the Whale. He was so huge that he couldn't get out of his chair without a walker. It was
wow.
it was a pretty full-on movie, and I highly recommend people go and see that, because I tell you what, after watching, and this guy just ate pizzas and garlic bread all day, every day, and hot dogs and all that rubbish, right? And he just, and and it's emotional eating. He did it because he felt good eating it, and so he had a trauma where his partner had died. And then after the partner died, he just let himself go. He was in such trauma. So there's a
Well, he
lot
was
of
in
emotional
pain.
stuff.
He was feeding his pain is what he was doing.
Yeah, he was feeding his
Right. It was
pain.
pleasure is what he was giving himself. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It was full, and I know that I've been an emotional eater myself in the past. See, this is a whole, like, a health podcast now that we're
Right.
talking.
It's gone from podcasting to food.
Yeah, I didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No, it's fine.
Patrick,
No,
to hijack
I mean,
it. So.
actually, I love talking about this stuff because it's been a big passion of mine for the last, like I said, the last 2 years. Really lost like 40 pounds off my own weight, and have
Look at you.
reversed some health problems completely just from changing my diet. And I am a little worried about the direction that the world is heading towards around food. That we're going to create a food environment that's even worse than we have now. So
yes, what about genetically modified food and all of that? Let's not get
Oh
started.
yeah, and the fact that they want us to eat bugs. Well, what the hell is going on with that? I
just
don't
that,
think so.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of dodgy stuff in the health industry. And, we've got some great documentaries actually linked in the Conscious Community Global Facebook group. I'll actually pop the link in here. Seaspiracy is a great one to see. What the Health is another brilliant one. What the Health. And, there's a lot of, corruption in the meat industry and the dairy industry particularly. And I'd hate to think what goes into hot dogs and meat pies. Someone said that's where all the bums and the eyes and things like that go, the animal. And I'd hate to even think of eating that kind of stuff. So really, you just don't know. You just don't know what is in some of these meat products. Ugh.
It's also it's more about the chemicals and how the meat was actually grown, right? What kind of nutrients were given to the cows or the whatever the meat source was. Were they grass fed? Were they fed, GMO corn or that kind of stuff? Really produces a natural meat that's good for humans, where some of the artificial stuff isn't so good for you.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think what this shows beautifully, while we're talking about the truth about podcasting and online media, I think if you're passionate about a topic, you can just keep chatting about that topic until the cows come home, literally. We say that in Australia, until the cows come home. And so, which is actually very relevant to this. So, you want to find something. If you're looking for a topic to start a podcast with, you want to find something ideally you're passionate about. It's not just about the money. And actually, Tanner Campbell, thank you for this. He says they realize it takes a lot of work and it's more like a small business than they thought for a lot of people starting a podcast. Absolutely, Tanner. That is exactly right, because it does take something to consistently share about whatever topic it is you're passionate about. Now, Ken and I met on an online networking event, and we are passionate about the truth, about telling the truth about what's going on in the world, at least our truth of what's going on in the world. So Ken's passionate about the truth about health. I'm passionate about the truth about media. And so we can talk till the cows come home around those two topics, right? And, that's the thing. If you're passionate about it, when you're in the heart space and above with your energy centers, your chakras, which is all scientifically proven, time and space disappear when you are speaking and coming from passion. So definitely finding something you're passionate about where that happens for you, where time and space just seem to disappear when you're chatting about that topic. That is a great starting point, right? Rather than just doing something because you think you want to monetize it or that's what people are looking for. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's where the 90-minute and 2-hour episodes happen, is when you have a topic that you have such a passion for. I think, I've done that as well. I found over the many years of creating content, as I had the freedom for online distribution, I felt the freedom towards being more flexible on the duration of the content. And I felt more passionate about various aspects of the shows that I've done in the past, and I've really not restricted myself. It was almost like I would produce as much content as was relevant to cover whatever topic I was covering, and I always gave myself more content than I could ever cover in my episodes. So if I wanted to go longer, I could, and if for some reason things didn't work out as long as I thought with some of the planned content, that I've always had enough, and especially back when I was on the radio, is that I would have guests that would call or not call in when they were supposed to during a break. And then I had to have something ready to go. So I always over prepared for my shows. And sometimes that's an advantage too, because if you cover a topic quicker than you had a plan for, you have something ready there that you can pull from. And so if your audience, and what's funny is I had audiences complain that my show was too long, and I had audiences complain that my show was too short. So I had the both ends of the spectrum, and a lot of people talk about that short's better. It's really not one way or the other. I think it depends on what your audience expects from you, and what you've set the expectation for. I think if you set the expectation that you do a 90-minute show, you probably should do a 90-minute show, even though you're probably going to lose half your audience by the time it gets to the 90-minute mark. So you just have to accept the fact that the most passionate folks are going to listen all the way to the end. The less passionate folks are going to drop out halfway. That's just the facts.
True.
And that's the reality of it.
I agree with that. And, that is something interesting, because I have been told by a couple people in the past, that, the podcast people that are trending, they're doing 10, 15-minute episodes and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what, to be honest with you, I cannot do a 10 or 15-minute episode on...
There's not enough value there, right?
Right. Especially like on a topic of cholesterol, and diving deep into that, and why we were told certain things and da-da-da-da. That is not a 10, 15-minute episode. That is easily going to be a 45 to 50-minute episode, maybe a little longer. And typically that's how long my episodes are tending to run, especially the ones that I've done deep dive research for to produce the content for. These are big episodes. These go out to be about anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour long.
Yeah. You need to deliver the content, enough content that will cover the subject matter that you're trying to cover, and not shortcut it. Because what you're doing is you're shortcutting your audience and what they can learn. And if they're passionate about you as a host, they will listen. They may listen to it in pieces. They may listen to it, half of it on the way to work, and then the other half going home. So that's the other thing, that I've noticed in the research data, is it's typically the average commute in the United States anyway is about 25 minutes.
That's usually where I start listening to other people's content, is on the commutes and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Right. And so, but if you look at like the top 200 podcasts, and I think this number has been declining a little bit, but it used to be most of the most popular podcasts were about 45 to 50 minutes. So that maps directly to the average commute. But I do think that podcast episodes have been trending a little shorter. I think we've been dropping like maybe a minute or two every year in duration, and I'm not quite exactly sure why that's happening, but it's definitely a trend line. I don't know if it's just because there's so much content and there's so much noise now that people just don't have the attention span that they used to. But it is a trend line. So I think that the average length right now is probably between 30 and 40 minutes.
And that rings true, because the people that I listen to, people I follow, some people I follow for geopolitical stuff, some people I follow for this or that, the average episode is anywhere between 45 minutes to 50 minutes long. And then every once in a while you get an hour episode and stuff like that. So and most of those programs that I listen to are giving excellent stuff,
right?
Good value. And, so I'm not sure if I necessarily buy into like, your podcast episodes need to be 15, 20 minutes long.
Yeah, I don't either. I think if somebody's going to listen to it, they're going to listen to the whole thing. And I'm perfectly okay with somebody that listens to half of the show. Maybe that's the half that they wanted to consume. So maybe life got in the way, and I'm just going to produce, from a host, I'm going to produce what I think is going to cover that topic. The audience can decide whether or not they want to listen to it all or not. That they're in full control. So they can choose whatever they want to do. So I'm just giving them consistency and a show that if they want to keep listening, they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? You know, we bring you from the heart how we bring it to you with our podcast. And, you know, with this show particularly, Total Truth Show, we like to go with the flow of where the conversation goes. And so we never know quite how each episode's going to turn out. And we love to get your feedback as an audience too. So we go with the flow of the questions. And so we've got one here from Sonia. It says, why do you go indie? What or who encouraged you to go indie? So firstly, what do you mean by indie? Or do you know what she means by?
I think she means independent. Yeah,
why
that's
do you
usually what indie means, is independent.
Right. And
yeah, I think she's probably talking about me because I've been working for podcasting companies or media companies for a long time, and I've kind of broken away from that right now. So I think that's what she's asking. And really, to sum it down, is that working for a particular platform makes you a little biased towards that platform. And what I see a need in the market right now is somebody that's kind of like a fair arbitrator or matchmaker that can help content creators get matched with the right platform. So partner or whoever that partner might be that they need to create a show and make it successful and meet their needs, right? Oftentimes we see a lot of people in the podcasting space like changing hosts all the time because this one they thought was going to work, but they're going to go over to this one because this one's better, because their friend told them that it was better or something like that. And that's how podcasters make decisions about moving, or it's economics of some sort, whether it's an advertising deal or something like that. And that's the motivation for moving. And I think a lot of podcasters just don't have access to a good pool of information about how to make a proper decision, so that they're not bouncing all over tarnation, trying to figure out what they're doing with their show, which is very distracting from creating quality content. And it's also disruptive to the medium. Now, granted, this may not be a popular approach by some platforms, because a lot of the platforms thrive on shows leaving other shows to go somewhere else. And the industry's created pathways to change hosts pretty easily, right? And everybody cooperates on that. But I've experienced it myself, where I worked with a lot of content creators, and they're frustrated because they feel like that they go somewhere and it's like not what they expected, and it's because they didn't have proper expectations. So that's the challenge I'm trying to address. And the only real way that you can do that is to be fairly independent. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to align with companies that I really like and kind of promote them to some degree. Right.
Okay. All right, beautiful. Thank you for that answer there. Now we've got Tanner here, says podmachine.com is a very affordable option to get away from the post-production work. It's offshored, not the best engineering ever, but the time earned back really evens out the less than perfect engineering. Okay, and he says he uses it for 30 episodes a month, 10 to 15 minutes, and pays about $300 a month. Okay, interesting, for post-production.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I've heard of some other apps recently where you can actually cut down a longer episode into short snippets. Like there's one called Video, VIDYIO, I believe, Video. There's a few out there that you can it actually cuts down the longer videos and gets snippets out of it. So you can do some short videos to promote across your socials as well. So, of course, we know how big TikTok has become over the recent times. You know, TikTok's becoming huge, and you know, obviously reels on Instagram and Facebook, you know, more and more people are loving those sort of short snippets. So you could use that as a promo to then lead into your to your longer shows and link to your longer shows. And as we say, if people love the topic, they'll stay on and they'll tune in. So I've put the links here in the chat too for the StreamYard link if you want to try it out. And if you do want to upgrade, that's $10 US off if you use that link, if you do upgrade. You can start with the free platform, go to one one platform, you have the StreamYard logo on it if you do the free option. And then the next option is about $20 a month and $50 a month roughly. So you can check that out. That's US dollars. And then also here, I'll put the link in for the Conscious Community Global Facebook group, which has got some of those mind-blowing documentaries linked in there. And I'll actually see about putting The Whale in there too. I'm not sure if you can get The Whale as a full documentary or full film online, but at least the trailer, so you can check out The Whale as well, we were talking about recently. So please feel free in that group to put any mind-blowing documentaries or films that you see, pop them in the group, and if you put on their must see, then I will feature it to the top of the group. So that's really an open platform for you to go and wake up to, you know, some alternative options and thoughts that you may not have had by following mainstream media. This is really to give you an alternate view on what you might have been led to believe from the mainstream media. Okay, Conscious Community Global. So check that out. So Sonia says, no worries. If people only watch or listen to half or some minutes, sometimes they are on replay for live streaming because the time zone, for example, like me. Yeah, that's true. So sometimes people come back to it later on because of their time zones. Right. She says, Rob, do you plan to work with big brands again because they still need you to make transformation on their companies and brands?
That is
I mean, that's part of this whole thing is that, you know, I'm going to do reviews of platforms and I'm sure that they'll take those and say, you know, these are areas that maybe they can improve on, right? To better compete with other players in the medium, right? So hopefully this will drive some innovation and some competitive interest, which kind of really already exists. It's just maybe it's not as clear.
Got it.
And I know one of the platforms that I use for my podcast is Anchor.fm, and I use Anchor because they're simple, they're free.
It's part of Spotify, just to clarify, right? Yeah, and they're actually going to be dropping that brand name, so it's going to be Spotify Creator Studio is where it's going to be.
Okay,
eventually.
Cool. You know, but they're free to use. I don't think they have a limit on space. And other platforms that I've looked at not only charge you, but there's a limit on space. So I'm kind of like, let's see. This one might be better, but you're paying for it. This one's free, and I have unlimited space. I don't have to worry about it. So, yeah.
Well, and that's the challenge here, because there's good sides and bad sides to any platform, and that certainly applies to Anchor too. So if you oftentimes you work with a paid platform and you get a little bit better platform than free, because you oftentimes get what you get for free isn't always the best platform. It may be adequate for what you are trying to accomplish. So I think in the early days of the pandemic, we saw a huge spike in new shows started on Anchor.
Yes.
I would say probably a couple million shows actually. Of which most of those shows didn't keep producing. So free also inspires people to take the medium a little less seriously too. It's almost like a kick the tire platform, right? I'm gonna play around with podcasting, but I'm not gonna be really serious about it. Those that invest in a paid plan tend to podcast longer, just as a general sense, and create more content is what I've seen. Anyway, so it's a little bit of a psychological thing. It's not. Yeah. There's no reason why you can't use Anchor and publish shows for years at this point, because they've been around a long time. But people just don't. They're not quite as committed to it generally across the board.
But the thing about the paid platforms is there's some of them that you're paying for, and they've got limited space. And so here's the thing that I'm running into nowadays, and I know Aldwyn's definitely running into it. Space is an issue, and it continues to be an issue. And so what are we expected to do? We continue to have to spend, I at least continue to have to spend hundreds of dollars getting these steady state hard drives to store all this stuff. Anchor does that for me. I don't have to worry about storing it anywhere. And so this is also like another issue that eventually, you know, in the beginning may not be a problem, but eventually you're going to hit that ceiling, and then you're going to be like, I've got to delete these things, you know, and I don't want to delete these episodes, you know. So there's that. So what do you say about that one?
Well, I think it's It's a pretty simple formula. I know some of the platforms will allocate space based on like a monthly allocation. So you just have to do the math on it. And some of the platforms will give you, like 500 hours for a particular plan. That's what Spreaker does. And that's part of what I'm going to pull out of this research and reviews that I'm doing on all these platforms is to really be clear about each of the models and which one fits the best. I mean, I agree with you. Anchor has a lot of flexibility on storage and things like that, but a lot of people also buy storage on like cloud platforms now too, that you can store your episodes up there. And I think it depends on how prolific you are in creating content and how much content that you're actually creating. If you do it over many years, sometimes the benefit of hosting very old content diminishes over time. So there is a thought in the medium that you probably don't want to have any more than maybe 300 episodes in your RSS feed, because it creates a very large RSS feed that takes a while to download and parse, and not that many people are going to go back and listen to your first episode 300 episodes ago. So it depends on the content too. So you have to kind of assess what you're doing and just make sure. And some content providers will take that archive and put it behind a paywall too. So you have that spectrum there too, if it has value. And that can be done in a different way as well. So, you can have a secondary revenue stream off of that archive, and then maybe only have your last, 15 or 20 episodes that are available in your free feed. And those are the ones that you monetize with advertising if you want to.
That's an really interesting thought, actually, because right now I'm running a series right now, and I call it season 2 because it was kind of supposed to be the rebirth of my podcast, because there was a long pause a while back. Season 2 is all about exposing the lies of the health and wellness industry, the top lies of the health and wellness industry. I actually have a lineup of 16 different topics and episodes, 2 of which I've already put out. And so you just might have given me an idea, because this series is actually, when it's fully produced and it's all out there, all episodes, I really believe that the content behind there is going to be, the content in there is going to be very, very powerful. And I actually just might want to take that entire series and put it behind a paywall, but I'm not sure, because I'm also one of those people where content like that, I'm often wanting my clients to hear that. I'm often wanting friends to hear that and stuff like that. So,
it depends on what you want to do, right?
Yeah, and I often give away too much too. But I'm also recently finding out you should not be afraid of giving away too much. So there's that too. But anyhow, putting it behind a paywall is actually an interesting thought for future stuff that
Yeah.
So it can be a hybrid model, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious about how to monetize podcasts, and also with some of these paid platforms such as Buzzsprout and some of the others. Do you get more reach? Does it really make a big difference if you do hop on a paid platform?
Yeah, it could. I know my years that I spent at a platform called Libsyn, we worked pretty aggressively to get distribution deals with platforms at the cutting edge of the industry, right? Ones that were not commonly picked up by our competitors. So we were pushing on that quite a bit, like both of the listening platforms in the huge country of India was one, JioSaavn and Ghana, which between the two of them is about 300 million potential listeners. So that was not a common deal. So that's why shopping around really is beneficial, because then there's pathways to get additional listenership. Now, the country of India is not known for high CPMs on monetization quite yet, but if you build an audience there eventually, I think that the monetization opportunities in those huge countries like that may turn into something significant as you look to the future. And we're seeing growth in distribution of platforms in the Middle East, and we're seeing it happen more and more in Asia and South America and places like that around the world. So the fastest growth in podcasting right now is outside of the United States. So, Canada actually has more per capita consumption of podcasting than the U.S. has.
Interesting.
So the markets outside of the U.S. are starting to catch up and even to some degree surpass the United States, which actually started podcasting. So, I think it's really important to really think about your global reach of your show. And like this program is coming out of Australia, and that appeals to a global audience, that it's coming out of there and watched in the US and probably watched in Australia and Southeast Asia and, lots of other places around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So ways to monetize. Is it worth paying for a podcasting platform? Like with StreamYard, I've upgraded now to the top version because we've got a lot more reach. We're going out to 8 different platforms at once, and we've noticed a lot more involvement we've got a lot more comments coming through. So it has made a big difference to upgrade and to pay the $500 a year with this platform. So I don't mind paying for things if we're going to get more reach and if we can monetize.
Right. And I think that's the thing to think about is that's why it's so important that content creators understand the platform that they're working with before they, sign up. So they know that they're getting what they want with the platform, and not sign up and then realize once you've already committed and you've got it all set up and stuff that it's not going to have the reach or the features that you want to enable for your podcast to be what you want it to be. So
can you recommend any other podcast platforms that you would say would be good to go with if you are doing regular content? Like Ken and I produce about a show a week now we've been doing.
Yeah,
we do them Friday or a Tuesday Australian time, or a Monday night or Thursday night for American time. So we're producing some steady content here, and Media Queen TV I do every week or 2 weeks. So for people like us who are doing weekly shows or fortnightly shows, what platforms would you recommend?
Well, it depends on what you're doing. If you're trying to distribute video, it's a different conversation. But if you're trying to distribute audio, it's even more different conversations. So
we do both video and audio.
Right. So some podcasting platforms support video as well, because when podcasting started back in 2004 through, let's say, up until when YouTube started, which was about 2007, the podcasting medium, and continued even past 2007, I think by 2010 or so, YouTube had basically siphoned off most of the video podcasts. The true definition of a video podcast, which is an MP4 file linked from an RSS feed. The show that I do, the New Media Show, actually has a video podcast. It's actually a downloadable MP4 file that's in an RSS feed that's available in Apple. So you can actually watch the video version of the show in Apple Podcasts. So that's a possibility in Libsyn, Podbean, and Blueberry. Those 3 platforms support video podcasting, because those 3 platforms started back in the early days of podcasting when video podcasting was a thing. Since then, everything's moved over to YouTube or moved over to Facebook or LinkedIn and things like that, like we're doing right now, right? This isn't necessarily going to become a video podcast, but oftentimes people will say, this is a video podcast, but it technically actually isn't, unless it's put out in an RSS feed, just like you would with the audio. So it depends on what you want to do, right? And that's one of the issues that I'm trying to address, is the complexity of this, because if you don't understand that distinction, it's hard to really make the right decision, right? Because many of the podcast platforms don't support video at all. So like a Buzzsprout doesn't support video. or a Spreaker doesn't support video, but Libsyn and Podbean does, and oftentimes podcasters don't realize that. And it's just one of those things. It's an educational thing. It's a difference in the platform. Podbean supports live audio, and so does Spreaker, but Libsyn doesn't support live audio. But they do have some recording tools that you can use to bring in guests, and so does Podbean. So it depends on what you're trying to do, what kind of content that you're trying to produce. If you're wanting to produce a live audio program, then I can point you to the right platform to accomplish that. But if you want to do like what we're doing here with StreamYard, it really doesn't matter, because all the platforms will pretty much, if you're pushing this out to Facebook and YouTube and those platforms, they're going to handle that video distribution for you off of those platforms, just like what we've done here today.
And then we're manually loading up these videos to places like Rumble and BitChute and things like that. Yeah.
But you could technically go live on Rumble too. So, you have that.
I don't know if StreamYard gives that option yet.
I don't think StreamYard does yet, but I know that Rumble supports live shows.
Yeah.
So within the platform, but then you're just going to Rumble, and then you'd need to put it out to other places. So
right.
Yeah, so I think there's a gap in the market of having one place that goes out to heaps of different places. I mean, StreamYard's the closest I've found that as a platform that just goes
been around the longest, actually. I mean, I'm doing a call with their founder and CEO in a couple of days myself, so I'm trying to learn about what's new with StreamYard too, so I can make recommendations to people, just like what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's a very simple platform to use, which is what I like about it. Some people use OBS Studio, and there's things like Ecamm out there.
I do it too. I have the OBS software loaded on my computer. I've got a Stream Deck, and I've used StreamYard and Riverside and Squadcast, and I mean, you just go through the litany of platforms that are doing similar things to this. But I've always enjoyed StreamYard with their graphics and their ability to flash audience questions on the screen. It's an awesome capability, right?
And generally it's great. There are some glitches with StreamYard, which I've mentioned to the bosses. And one thing is that once or twice I've done streams, and I've done hundreds of streams now, but once or twice the screen has just come out completely black, and it's been very strange, but like the video hasn't come through at times. There's one or two that I've done which is black video, you can hear the audio, but you just can't see anything. And so I've just left them up. You can actually see them on my YouTube channel. I just thought, well, I'm not going to delete it. I'll just leave it there. And I could choose to put a photo over the front of it. But, that's a weird glitchy thing that's happened. And another thing is when we do comments in here, it only shows through on the Facebook page. So Total Truth Show will have all the comments that we're putting in here at the moment. And then afterwards, we need to actually manually put it across to all the other platforms that we're streaming to, because the comments just don't go across to everything. So there's little glitchy things like that, which are a little bit annoying. However, overall, I think it's still a great platform, and I love the way it's like a live studio that we can add comments. And so we've got one from Maureen here. We can just add the comment to the stream like this, and she says her podcast is about sex and dating for men. What about if I feel it's evergreen? If she thinks it's an evergreen podcast, that's when we're talking about, the different episodes and all that kind of thing. So what if I feel it's evergreen?
Well, I mean, you can tell if it's evergreen if you just go back and look in your stats, right? Are you getting regular downloads of your episodes over extended periods of time? Because if you are, then you have evergreen content, and that's like a potential cash machine, depending on how many downloads that you're getting, right? Because then those kind of shows need to look at dynamic ad insertion technologies, that kind of stuff that can enable more automated advertising that can keep the revenue coming in from those older episodes. So I think if you can create evergreen content that has value over longer periods of time, I think that should be the goal of many podcasters. But some shows are timely and newsy in orientation, and the content value fades over time, and the audience doesn't engage with it past a certain period of time. And that's okay too. It's just a different model, right? And a different audience engagement.
Well, what we do know is that sex is the oldest industry in the world, and so it's not going away anytime soon. And of course, people are
Everybody
going to
likes that topic, right?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right. Sex sells. Sex definitely sells. So I think you're on a
Yeah.
winner there, Maureen. So well
Right.
done with that one. And she goes, now Sonia says, the reason I make the live podcast summit in Bali, I'll see you all there. Yes, I'm going to be there this year, Sonia. Can't wait. Sherry Leopold's with us. Beautiful Sherry.
Woo-hoo, we got Sherry in the room.
Beautiful. Maureen's asking about the live podcast summit. Fantastic. We've got a bit of networking going on in the chat. Sonia says it's in-person event for live streamers and podcasters, also entrepreneurs, business owners to connect with experts. And I will be speaking and I'm launching my book there. Yes, I am. I'm in about 17 compilation books. In fact, one of our books, the Feminescence series, I'll just show you quickly. The Feminescence series. Well, this is just two of them. This Feminescence series, the whole three of them actually.
Yeah, those are awesome.
This is the other one, the Feminescence series. So I've got a chapter in these. This has just been announced to go into the Hollywood swag bags for the 2023 Oscars, which I'm very excited about.
Really? Wow, that's exciting.
So that's very, very cool. So 17 compilation books I've got chapters in, which is a very powerful way to get yourself out there. And now I'm doing my own full book. So this is great for branding, obviously, to do your own full book completely. And people are doing books with Chat GPT now, but I can tell you a lot of mine will be personal stories. Chat GPT will never be able to share your personal story or in your tone.
Right,
speaking in
that's
tone.
true.
There are errors with those chatbots, so do your due diligence, I recommend. But of course, people love the easy way out. They want the lazy way. Now, Sonia says you can download the sound only from StreamYard to upload to other podcast platforms. Yes, thank you for mentioning that, Sonia. That's exactly right. So once we finish our stream here, we can actually download a video and we can download audio straight from StreamYard, which is another thing I absolutely love about StreamYard. Although it only has 50 hours of recording space, and we've maxed out our 50 hours continually, so we need to keep deleting and then uploading and deleting.
Issue again, see?
I know, yeah, right.
Yes, space issue there. So that is something to consider. So let's look at making some money from the podcast. Now, I was co-hosting a podcast called Tech Webcast for 3 years. Now, I never met the two. There was three guys I did the show with, two in Victoria, one in America. We did it for 3 years. I had 1 million downloads in the 8 years the show was running. And we used to monetize that through Patreon, right? So that was one way that we'd have subscribers through Patreon. Now, what are some ways we can monetize podcasts, Rob? What do you recommend?
Well, it depends on where you are in the path, right, of building your show. So audience size is always important. No matter any monetization strategy you want to take, the larger your audience, the more likely you are to be able to monetize it through either merch or donations or, increasingly some alternative ways of monetizing is being worked on in the podcasting industry involving cryptocurrency. So there is some new things that are coming that we'll see over the next few years, probably wind up growing. We're currently supporting those with the new media show. So it's called Satoshis. What it is, it's basically a micro transaction off of Bitcoin, is what it is. So you send a show, let's say like 10,000 Satoshis that's worth like 25 cents or something like that. So it's not huge numbers of donations, but I believe that the platform has paid out probably close to $50,000 to content creators just in the short time that it's existed as part of the podcasting 2.0 project that's being worked on to add new tags to the RSS feeds to enable, and more newer apps are starting to support that transactional kind of built-in process, right, where that actually splits the Satoshis with the listening app and the host, and it can be split between multiple hosts too. And it can either come from the host to the listener, or it can go from the listener to the hosts and the listening app. So it's a way to exchange, and that's growing and developing right now. But the more traditional route is, and this is what I recommend for most shows, is to think about your genre that you're doing. And if you have any relationships with companies or businesses or brands that are, I think, tangentially aligned with the theme or the topic of your show, just put together a little media kit and find somebody at that company and approach them about, like $100 an episode sponsorship or something like that. And you can do a host read to promote those shows. It doesn't have to be a highly technical thing. It's a great way. And that's kind of what I did with my radio show when I first got started too. I had guests on from a variety of different companies that then I would follow up after I had them on as a guest and ask, well, do you want to sponsor the show? And they would oftentimes send me pre-produced ads, or I would just do a host read for them. It was easier to do it that way because it was more of an endorsement kind of thing. So that's certainly one way for smaller shows to be able to monetize. As you grow, you have more and more choices. So you can get involved in what's called programmatic advertising, which is more automated, dynamically inserted ads that is sold by third parties into your show, and they traffic those ads right into your show. You don't have to do anything. You just set it up in your episodes and the ads just flow to you and you just get a check. So, and then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is the baked in host reads or the dynamically inserted host reads, which are typically sold by ad selling agencies to brands. They usually only do that for really large shows, ones that are probably between 25,000 and 50,000 downloads per episode. Is how that works. But there's no reason why you can't sell merch. You can't offer like a mastermind or a services platform, or sell a book, or lots of things in your podcast to monetize it.
That's a great idea. And of course, we know YouTube does help people monetize too once you have 1,000 subscribers. As far as I know, right?
Yeah.
You can actually get subscribers on there to pay, and you don't have to go OnlyFans and flash your bum and your boobs to make money online nowadays. Although a lot of young girls are doing amazingly with that, I must say. It
probably helps, right?
Back to the sex conversation.
Right.
So,
all paths lead back to that, I guess.
Yeah, all pass back to Rome.
Right.
So we've got lots of lovely comments. Thank you, Maureen says, great advice. Sherry says, that's great info. Maureen's having a good laugh there. Now, Sherry says here, Rob, ask the StreamYard peeps to create a way to schedule through your CRM for taping. I have to do them manually every time. Yes. Good point there, Sherry. Ask them, how can you schedule through your CRM? I think that would be a great thing if StreamYard added that. And then Sonia's saying here, you can ask Gage, I don't know how you say his name, Gage Van Den Top, and Dan directly, also on StreamYard Town Hall every Monday. So they have a way you can reach out there. Thank you for that, Sonia. And
Gage
then Sherry
is the founder
Gage.
of StreamYard. Yeah.
Gage. There you go, Gage, not Gage. He probably hates that.
Hey, Aldwyn, I would have pronounced it the same way. I'm so bad at pronouncing names and stuff like that.
So Sherry's grateful for that info as well. We've got Sonia saying, Maureen, your niche and topic is evergreen, has been existing since Adam and Eve era. Absolutely. And since koalas were around as well, Sonia. We have a little thing about koalas. I'm sure I have my koala here somewhere. Oh, my beautiful koala. Oh, yes, he's over there. He's near the door. The koala's moved. Here you go. Sherry's join StreamYard Community Official, Sonia says. Thank you for that. There you go. StreamYard Community Official. Is that a Facebook group there, Sonia? What is that, StreamYard Community Official? Or is that something through StreamYard itself? I actually didn't know about that either. So thank you for that tip. Beautiful. Wow, I'm loving this conversation today. This is so cool. And thank you for staying up so late. For you guys, I know it's very late up there, koala lifestyle. Sonia says, koala lifestyle, still want that. Yes, 20 hours of sleep a day and the other 4 hours. We'll say 3 hours of sex and probably an hour of eating and sleep and eating and whatever else they do the other hour.
What a life. Wow.
Eating and
Sounds like a great schedule. Right.
What else is life about? Come on, we're so overcomplicated it as humans, right?
We're adults. We can talk about stuff. Right.
I love it. So, Rob, you've gone out on your own now. You've left Podbean. You're doing your own thing. So, what are some things that really light you up at the moment? What are you doing with your own shows now?
Ooh.
Well, I'm going to be launching another show about the podcasting industry. It's going to be similar to the New Media Show, but what I want to do is bring in other types of voices into the podcast. So it'll be like more of a group discussion like this. So probably up to 4 people, and maybe have guest co-hosts that I bring in on a regular basis to contribute to the conversation when some of the other panelists maybe can't make it, or a particular topic is top of mind. But to really peel back the layers of the onion in the podcasting space more and more, and talk about what younger creators are thinking about in the medium too. I mean, I come at this from 18 plus years of experience as being a podcaster, but I don't profess to have all the answers, and to think about new ideas and new directions for the podcasting medium to head down. I don't always agree with those things, but nonetheless, the next generation is going to take over eventually. So I want to be able to have a conversation with them to make sure that they understand the history, as well as what the younger generation is thinking about the future.
Yes, that's a good one. It sort of scares me, the thought of the younger generation taking over one day. I mean,
well, those Gen Zers are going to change podcasting from what we've perceived it to be. My conversations with that generation is facing unique things that I didn't have to grow up with. So sure, I've felt some of it over the last few years, but it's certainly not
There's
native.
been some recent ones. There's one that I actually came across on my Instagram feed, and it just came across as like a random selected video or random video that was just suggested to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really got to like listen to some of them, some of just their little shorts, and I was just like, wow, this is actually pretty good. So I mean, with that, I was impressed with, and from what I understand, like they're bringing across some really good content. They're talking about some relative things, some of it being geopolitical in the realm of real stuff. Yeah. And so I just, when I see stuff like that out there, I really admire it. So I actually went and subscribed to their actual channel. And it's funny enough, it's 2 of them that do a duel together, kind of like Aldwyn and I do together. And they just both have a chat. It's a really light conversation. They're both hilarious at times. But again, going back to the length of the podcast episodes, that is one thing that I noticed. Almost every one of their episodes is anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour long. And
probably
I'm like,
at least. Right.
Yeah. And so I'm like going, okay, look, here's 2 younger kids. These guys have to be anywhere between, I don't know, 19 to 25. I'm thinking more on the younger end of that, maybe younger than even 18. Like, I don't know, but they're both going at it. They got a professional microphone in both their faces, and they've got the whole vibe going on there. And I'm seeing that now. If more stuff like that came out for the in the younger generation, that is going to be powerful. Right. What I'm afraid that's going to come out with this younger generation is, how do I want to put it? Propaganda programming.
Right.
That they've been programmed with.
Right.
That's what I'm afraid coming, because there just needs to be more real content out there. And truth be known, the real cool thing that is happening right now with all these different podcasts coming out is we are literally, in a sense, and I'm going to get a little patriotic here. We are literally, in a sense here, taking back our freedom of speech, and we are literally becoming the news now in a lot of different ways, and giving people alternatives to listen to, so that they don't have to be glued to the mainstream that's just spewing forth puke. Is
right.
The way I'll politely put that. Yeah. Those aren't the words I wanted to use.
And it's censoring open conversation about important issues and topics, and that's very, very dangerous as a society, to create that kind of atmosphere where people are fearful to talk about important topics that impact people's lives. And that's that's the unfortunate thing that's happened over the last couple of years, is that our governments have decided what's okay to talk about and what's not okay to talk about, and that's very it's not a good trend to see, because I don't think we want government having that kind of power over us. So
No, exactly. And even the word government means mind control. And so, if you want to really see what's going on in the world, go to the Conscious Community Global Facebook group, watch the Out of Shadows documentary, which had about 10 million views in a month when it came out in 2020,
right.
and then got banned off a whole lot of places. But I did find a link there. And of course, the fact checkers say, the independent fact checkers say that it's all incorrect, of course. And that's when you know definitely that there's truth in it. So that's when you go to the link.
It's always the opposite, right?
That's right.
It is true.
That's
Yes.
Common
Exactly.
thing, right?
So go to the link underneath and said, see it anyway. And that talks about how we've been programmed by media for years. We're programmed through the dramas. I mean, look at how many dramas are on TV, right? I mean, if you don't get enough drama through mainstream news, which is 98% negative, then you got dramas to watch one after another. And then people binge watching dramas, and if life's not one big drama, they think, gosh, I'm not alive if it's not one big drama. So let's just create drama out of nothing, right? And
that's a way to create anxiety and fear, which is
and it's not just the drama either. It literally isn't. It's also about the distracting us from asking questions, distracting us from doing the research for ourselves, distracting us from what's going on over here.
Yeah.
So we're paying attention over here instead. And, so anyhow, I don't want to hijack this. This is about podcasts, but in a sense, this does apply because more people are raising up. As you said, the numbers are showing that there are millions more doing podcasts like this. That excites me, but the kind of content that's coming out, and
the audience for podcasting keeps growing, and I believe it's one of the last mediums that doesn't have that cancel culture attached to it quite as much. So if you look at just the landscape of podcasting, it doesn't have, most of the true podcasting platforms don't censor speech. It's when it gets distributed out over social media or Facebook or YouTube where the censorship happens. But if you're putting out your content in RSS feeds, typically that content's not going to get censored or taken down unless there's something that violates the law, right? And that's kind of what the bar is for most of the hosting platforms. So the hosting platforms generally don't censor speech. I mean, we've been put in situations where we were kind of forced to take action against certain programs that were talking about certain topics a few years back. But most of the takedowns now in podcasting are really about kind of copyright violations. And that's about it. So, and people will certainly criticize you for talking about certain topics on Twitter and other places, but there isn't really any mechanisms yet to, basically cancel your podcast or something like that.
No, it's just YouTube. We've been banned off of YouTube. And I remember the first episode that happened. I actually, it was a proud moment for me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a little gold star on your record, right? I got banned from YouTube, right? Yeah.
So there's definitely truth in it, right? We know there's definitely truth in it. Look, we still stream some things to YouTube. We've had a few strikes now on there, and we keep speaking our truth regardless. Right. And that's what I believe more people really need to do, is to actually overcome this fear and actually just get out there and share their truth. And I do love the world of the mass media now. I must say, the fact that people are producing their own media through channels like this, and that there are some free speech platforms out there. Thank goodness for all the free speech platforms, because I always say, if there's nothing to hide, why the censorship? If you had cancer, wouldn't you want to look at everything out there on cancer? You wouldn't just go get chemo, because we know most people die from the chemo than from the cancer itself. We know that. However, if you haven't done your research, you won't know that. If you believe what the doctors tell you, you won't know that. And so we're encouraging you to do your own research, question everything. And that
I'm seeing more and more shows that are video shows that are on YouTube will do like half of their episode on YouTube, and then they'll say, "Goodbye, YouTube. come over to Rumble and watch the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. I
So
like it.
they're segregating content that's going to violate the YouTube policies from being able to do it. I just tell them, well, just put everything over on Rumble, I guess. But it's just, the truth is that YouTube is a huge platform, and they all these shows garner a lot of views and stuff on YouTube. So if they can create a version of their show that appeals to the YouTube algorithm and doesn't get banned, right?
Right.
Then they
That's
can
actually
pick up
brilliant.
Right. They can pick up viewers and then say halfway through the show, if you want to listen to more where we go into deeper topics on this, the show will be continued over on Rumble. So go on over. So
you're
we're seeing a
stealing
shift
people from YouTube, which is brilliant. That is,
right.
Hey, anybody listening into this, you guys, I know that there are lots of good creators out there. Here's an idea for you on how to get some good audience. If you're putting out good content, go on YouTube, do exactly that. Put half of your episode on YouTube and then go, hey, if you want to dive deeper, if you want to go, and hear about this and this and this going on, join us on Rumble over here.
Bye, YouTube. We're moving over to the free speech platform. Right.
So we'll see you all soon over on Rumble.
That's brilliant. One other thing I did want to mention, you can consider it a plug, just because I love what they're doing. I really do. On Telegram, there is a channel on Telegram called Badlands Media. And this is a brand new company that has birthed out there. They have got, I don't know how many different news angle episodes that they've got that are out. Like they must have like 13 or 15, between 13 or 15 different news. I don't know how you want to put it, station angles that you can listen to from Badlands Media that is out there. So if you check them out, nobody's told me to promote them. But I am just putting the word out because these guys are amazing. The content and the stuff that they're putting out is amazing. You want the daily news? They have the daily news. You want to talk about conspiracies? They have an episode about that. You want to talk about this over here? You want to talk about sports without a woke agenda? They have an episode about that as well. They've got a channel or a program that talks about that and that alone, and then they've got another channel. All of this is under Badlands Media, so definitely go check them out, you guys. They are putting out some really, really good content, and I love what they are doing. So,
yeah, there's another show too that I could recommend here too. It's called Redacted. It's on YouTube.
Heard of that.
It's on YouTube. It's actually hosted by a fellow that's been in the podcasting industry for a long time. He used to work for Fox News for many years in New York, but he now lives in Portugal. But he does this show live for like 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, where he covers a lot of the kind of news that the mainstream media doesn't want to cover, right? And then does that split between YouTube and Rumble. So yeah, it's called Redacted, and it's hosted by Clayton Morris, who's got a long reputation of being in the media, mainstream media. So, but he's gone over to the rebel side now.
That's awesome.
So check him out on Rumble, right? I can
Right.
see Badlands Media on Rumble.
Yeah, actually, the whole show is on Rumble, but typically only half of the show is on YouTube.
Love it. Excellent.
Yep.
So check that out. Let's support our independent creators out there that are standing for freedom of speech. We definitely have a lot of rebels and entrepreneurs out there who just will not go along with the status quo. And I love that about you guys. I applaud you. I applaud all the independent creators out there who are speaking their truth, even when some platforms want to shut them down. And some people may want to shut you down too. And we've seen all sorts of divisiveness go on through the last few years, through this pandemic, as we call it. the whole pandemic. It's interesting at the Olympic Games, everyone was wearing masks. Did you notice that? It's like, how do you breathe through those things? In fact, we've got a show called, I did an interview with a guy about the dangers of mask wearing, and that actually got taken off YouTube, interestingly. However, it is up on other channels, so you can check that out on Rumble and BitChute. The dangers of mask wearing. It is not healthy, particularly at a sport event, and do your own research about this. So, it still boggles my mind when I see people wearing masks, even though there's no mandates around mask wearing. There's still people out there paranoid wearing masks right now. It absolutely blows me away. However, each to their own. They obviously think they're keeping themselves safe, and good on you for that. However, do your own research. Again, I recommend. Yeah, it's that knowledge gives you power to make informed choices for yourself. And this is part of what we stand for here on the Total Truth Show. And we're talking about the truth about podcasting and online media. And the truth is that more people want to see the truth. The more people want to see you speaking your truth and not be censored, not censor yourself, not live in caution, right? People say, I'm just being cautious, just being cautious. Well, we know people have been jailed and killed for speaking their truth in the past. But, like they say, so what? Speak your truth anyway, right? Because
exactly.
It's unlikely it's going to happen to you. However, even if it does, well, maybe that's the grand plan. And I mean, as they say, if you're not speaking your truth, if you're not here speaking your truth, you're possibly living a lie or not fully living out your life. And the number one regret of the dying is living a life not true to yourself. Right. Okay, so this is something we're encouraging you to speak your truth, whatever that is for you. We even have a show called The Truth About the Truth. Actually, that's a good one to go back and check that one out, The Truth About the Truth. And the truth will be different for everyone, depending on their experiences, depending on what they've actually researched for themselves. Right. However, what we do know is that if you believe everything the mainstream media tell you, and I know I've worked as a journalist for many years behind the scenes, I've seen the media programming, I've seen what happens, how people get brainwashed again and again through this channeling that happens through the media, right? There's a lot in these words, right? The channels, the media channels, right? The outlets. Mm-hmm. And I am so grateful right now for all the independent media and the independent media creators. Thank you. Thank you.
That's all I watch now is independent creators. I don't watch mainstream media anymore because I just don't trust what they have to say generally. Right.
Yeah, we don't.
I think the most I get off of mainstream media is what's playing at the gym. I mean, and I just get the headlines. And a lot of times, me knowing what's actually going on behind the scenes, I look at those headlines and I'm going, you freaking bastards. You guys know what you're doing, and you guys know that you're bringing about a false angle on this and stuff like that. So I'll just
But they're oftentimes creating fear in people instead of bringing people together, and that's the real danger of what's going on, is that people are pitted against each other, and people increasingly are becoming agitated and violent, and people are frustrated, and they're taking out their aggressions against people that they think wrong them somehow, or aren't doing the right thing based on what the authorities are saying that they're supposed to do. Or there's all sorts of reasons that people are aggravated now and frustrated and upset, and it's coming out. So
and the trick is for all the freedom movement people, right? There's a lot of people also in the freedom movement that are very angry and staying in those angry places. They're coming, because it's very, I must say, it's challenging when you hear some of this stuff. It actually is very hard to believe. It's actually, we're brought up to trust authority. We're brought up to trust our teachers, to trust the media, to trust the elders, right? And when you find out that you've been lied to for years, you can go into these places of anger and sadness, etc. However, I encourage you as much as possible to quickly turn that around to gratitude as quickly as you can, because as soon as you know this information, you can now do something empowering with that information for yourself. And I'm so grateful that I know what I know. I'm so grateful, for example, that I didn't get the jab. Okay, now a lot of people did, and it's your choice whether you do that. My whole family did it, right? My dad got shingles. 84 years of age, never had shingles. He gets the jab, the same side he gets the jab of the same part of his body, gets shingles all down that side. Now, I'm grateful that at that point I didn't do it. I would, and no matter how much pressure was out there here in Australia, we couldn't go into restaurants. We couldn't, for 3 months or so, if you didn't have the two jabs,
you couldn't do anything, right?
Couldn't work, they couldn't, and so people thought, well, that's the end times. This is like, we've got to get the jab because we feel so a lot of people feel they've been coerced into it. However, if you had actually done some research at that time, you may have chosen not to do that. Okay, and we know a lot of people have died from it as well. And as much as that's all being, hidden by the media, etc. Look, the good news is even if you have had the jab, there's ways you can actually clear it from your system now. If you want to know, just send me a private message in Facebook and I'll give you some tips on how to clear that gunk out of your system, because, I think our bodies are incredibly powerful healers.
Yes.
And this is something that also that we believe, we'll just take a pill and that'll sort out all our problems. Coming back to the health thing again, right? So I'm getting
I'm a perfect example of it. I was able to transform myself out of a very serious prostate situation based on changing my diet over the last 2 years. So it reduced the size of my prostate and took all the problems away. So so just changing your diet and eating more healthy and probably not eating as much.
Oh my gosh, I could say so much on that, but I don't want to go too far on that, because we'll be here another hour, because
there is a lot to talk about on that. I agree with you.
There is. What's interesting though,
and I've done a 7-day fast before, so that's a whole nother level of awareness of your body that most people don't experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yes. Wow.
I've got topics lined up that I'll be talking about. So I've already put out an episode of low fat and fat free scam. I've already put out my episode on sugar and hidden sugar. The next episode I think I'm going to put out is plant-based eating, the real truth behind that crap.
Now, I used to be a vegetarian. There was a period of time that I was vegan. It was a very unhealthy diet, actually.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Oh my gosh, there's so much I can say on that. You've got
people that argue that, right? Because they go, gorillas only eat greens, and look how strong they are, right?
They were designed for that. We're not.
Yeah, we're not.
That's the answer. Right.
And then margarine and butter is something else I want to talk about. Oh my gosh, just even trying to explain to people the process on how they've made margarine, it's just nasty.
Oh yeah, you don't ever want to eat margarine.
I even have, not to give too much away my lineup, I even have an episode that I'm going to do, which I'm a little nervous about doing, but I'm going to put it out there boldly. I'm going to be talking about the American Heart Association.
Oh boy.
Friend or foe?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That and the March of Dimes, the American Cancer Society.
Yeah.
Go through the litany of all of them.
Let's just throw this one out there, right?
In the past, I've actually worked for those folks because I used to work for the Florida Department of Citrus.
Oh, wow, really?
And I was with them for 5 years and did a lot of marketing with them. And the Florida Department of Citrus would partner with the American Cancer Society, March of Dimes,
which are all owned by largely pharmaceutical companies,
right?
Big tech.
And I was pushing at the time. I just wasn't as aware as I am now, but I was pushing orange juice, and orange juice is very high in sugar, right? Which is very unhealthy for you. Sure, there's some potential nutrients in orange juice, but what I know now about orange juice is that when it's pasteurized, it gets rid of all the vitamin C anyway, so you don't really have any kind of real benefit of drinking orange juice other than just getting a bunch of sugar. So that's the reality.
Make your own orange juice. If you got to have it, make your own.
Yeah, I built the world's largest glass of orange juice. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. So
what?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Do a search in Google for the world's largest glass of Tropicana orange juice, and you'll see it.
Wow. And I must say, I love orange juice too. Is Sonia saying I love orange juice?
So I was brainwashed in the early days myself, just thinking that citrus was healthy and stuff. And it is, mostly if you eat it as a raw fruit. And I also worked a lot with fresh citrus as well, which, grapefruit and tangerines and oranges and stuff like that with the grocery industry. So that's a lot more healthy for you than pasteurized orange juice. So,
yeah.
Wow, this has been such an interesting show, this one, I must say. And thank you for all of our live viewers as well. Nicholas Fudge said he
Yes, because Nicholas is in the house as well. Loving to see you. Thank you for joining us, Nicholas.
Thank you, Nick. We interviewed Nick on a previous show, actually, Nicholas Fudge. You might want to check that one out. And Sonia's saying she's maybe wanting to embrace this live streaming queen now for her as a new brand with a live podcast. So she said she created that with you, Rob. So live streaming queen. I think having a strong brand name with your podcasting and with building your influence and authority definitely helps.
Yep.
Absolutely. Like, especially if people can't say your name, like Aldwyn, Altuney. Oh my gosh, the number of times people have had issues with my name. And so they just go, that's a media queen. It's a lot easier to say the brand name than it is the name in my case. And it just outlines what you do very simply. So having a brand name, I think, is great. Nick says, thanks, guys. Great to see you there, Nick. Awesome. And for everyone who's joining us on the replay or joining us live, if you have any final questions for Rob or comments, or for Ken or myself, please pop them into the comments now, because we will be wrapping up shortly. As much as we love these marathon episodes that we do here at the Total Truth Show, we aim to keep it to about 90 minutes max. So Nick says, keep doing what you're doing by empowering people to get the truth out there. Thank you, Nicholas Fudge. Much appreciated there. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. And it's great to have our supporters out there. And of course, the more you build your profile and authority with podcasting, the more you're going to have your lovers, the more you're going to have your haters, right? And it's important for you to be okay with that, right? To actually be so clear on your truth and what you want to put out there. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. It's about you speaking your truth. That's really what we stand for. And coming from a loving place and respecting everyone for their decisions, even though I still think it's crazy people are wearing masks out there. That's your choice. If you really want to suffocate yourself, you just go right ahead. But that's something that's not in my realm, right? I'm not doing masks. In fact, I have an exemption for masks, and you can get exemptions for that as well. Okay, so check it out with certain GPs.
I gotta put my little shout out in there as well. So this is just for some of you guys to think about who might still be thinking about your mask. So just think about
thinking about any masks.
Oh, so. just think about this simply here. So first of all, how big is a virus particle? Around 1 micron. Right. How big is a water vapor particle that comes out of your mouth? Around 60 microns.
Right.
How big are the holes in the fabric of most masks? About 80 microns. You do the math yourself.
Right.
So basically they're useless, in other words. Yep. So thank you for that.
More and more research has come out confirming that too. So
yes. Yeah. Yes. We want you to breathe fresh air. That is how you're designed as a human being. Take some deep breaths. Right? Get out in nature. There's the best ways to improve your health. Sonia says, thanks for today. See you soon on the online live podcast summit this month. Yes. Thank you so much, Sonia. Koala Aldwyn, I miss him. Yes, the koala. Actually, I'll just grab him actually for you, Sonia, just for you. I'll grab the old koala, because I know how much you love the koala. So I'll be right back.
Oh, there we go. Oh, she's going to go get that little koala. Love it.
It's her koala prop, huh?
Yep. Here we go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Right.
Here we go. In case you didn't know what a koala looked like, this is what they look like. They are so cute. They sleep 20 hours a day and have sex, eat, and poo for the other 4 hours. So there you go. They have a great life. And they do rub against the trees, and their scent goes on the trees. And this is why when you chop down koala habitat, when you chop down the trees, they get very stressed and they get very diseased. Okay, so it's important to look after our beautiful koalas. There's only 25,000 left in the wild. They're critically endangered right now. And so one of my goals is to have a koala habitat. I want to actually have an animal sanctuary, have a koala habitat. And maybe Sonia can get involved in that one of these days and bring it down the koala habitat. We do love our koalas here in Australia. However, they were hunted for their fur for many years. Would you believe? They're almost hunted to extinction. And same with the kangaroos here as well. And certain types of kangaroos are now extinct because of the hunting. So look into it. Fascinating. What's
You're getting a lot of love from Sonia right now.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. Look how handsome he is. I know. I think he's a boy too, actually. I think he is a boy. He hasn't got a little willy, but I think he's still they don't make these toys with those bits on there. There's no little willies on him, but we could call him Willie. His name could be Willie the koala. There we go. So there we go. Back to sex again. Oh my gosh. Well, sexual parts anyway, aren't they? So anyway, moving right along. Moving right along.
That's what I need to get. I need to get a little drum kit.
I think that there's some special effects that can be added here. No.
Yes.
I know. I was like thinking, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and for people who are going to be listening to the audio, they're going to come back and want to watch the video to see the koala, right? They're going to come.
Of course.
So you can check that out on Facebook. Total Truth Show. Please like our Total Truth Show. We have the link in here on Facebook. Like the Total Truth Show. Come and join our Conscious Community Global Facebook group. There's the Total Truth Show. Okay, some links. So where can people connect with you guys? Rob, let's go over to you first. Where can people connect with you?
Well, I have my own personal website, robgreenlee.com. The other one is Podcast EZ, and that's the letter ENZ at the end. So podcastez.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I'm on all the social platforms, so I'm easy to find. So just do a search in Google, and you'll find all sorts of stuff on me.
Okay, beautiful. And newmediashow.com as well.
Yeah, and newmediashow.com is another one, right?
Okay, beautiful. Newmediashow.com. Beautiful. And Ken, where can people connect with you?
First place is I'd like to invite people to join my Facebook community. I have a growing Facebook community on Facebook. And so definitely join that community. Aldwyn, do you have the link or do you need me to?
Yes, I'll pop it in there. I just put newmediashow.com.
Okay, gotcha.
I put .con. It was meant to be .com. It's definitely no cons about the New Media Show. Although it's interesting sometimes, it just pops out. So that's me typing away, newmediashow.com. Okay, .com. We'll delete that other comment. It's definitely
there we go. There you go.
It's like sometimes I put XOX at the end of comments and the auto correct changes to COX, as in Cox, and I definitely don't mean to send anyone anything like that. So it's actually meant to be XOX in case there's any typos with the auto correct. Got to watch those chat bots, I tell you. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll come back to your links there, Ken. Okay.
My Facebook community.
Here we go. We've got your calendar link here. Calendar link. Okay, here's your calendar link, the Mastery Coach Ken.
Yeah, so you've got my calendar link there, which you can book an appointment with me. Love to get on a Zoom call with you, see if I can help you. So just a little bit about me. I have lost 62.5 pounds and kept it off for over 5 years now, and that's exactly what I teach other people how to do. And I teach them how to do it without a diet. That's part of the broken system that is keeping you sick, stuck, and overweight because that's how they make money. I help you make sustainable changes that end up being changes that last a lifetime, which means your weight loss will end up more likely being permanent. I also have an aspect on my program where there's a lot of deep education around the health and wellness industry, stuff that they don't want you to know, that is going to literally skyrocket your health goals, your energy, and help you lose weight. So reach out to me, book a Zoom call with me. Also, join my Facebook community. Do you have the link for that, Aldwyn?
The group, I'm just about to pop that in here. Ken's group, tiny URL, that one.
That's it. So tinyurl.com/Ken's group. Really easy to remember. Join my Facebook group. There's a lot of good stuff being posted up in there, as well as my 7-part mindset series. Mindset is also really important when you're going on a weight loss journey. And so it's a 7-part series, lots of value there.
Awesome. And to connect with me, all my links are at a linktree/Aldwyn, which is linktr.ee/Aldwyn. You'll see all the links there. For those in the Brisbane area, we have a fantastic 3-day book writing workshop coming up for anyone who wants to do a book. 3-day workshop coming up. That's the 24th to the 26th of March in Brisbane. I'll be there. It's going to be phenomenal. So if you're in the area, come along if you want to do a book. That will be brilliant. The link is in my link tree. And also I'll be doing a workshop called Skyrocket Your Success in 2023 coming up in Brisbane as well with Lorna Buckland. That'll be the 1st of April. and a whole lot of other really cool stuff. So please connect, hop in there, Total Truth Show, connect and like our page as well, and then check out linktree/Aldwyn. All right, we're coming up to wrap up time here on this fantastic show. It's been such a pleasure having you with us here today, Rob, at your very late hour. What time is it for you now where you are in Connecticut?
Almost midnight.
It's almost midnight, right?
Oh, it's the witching hour. Oh, coming up to midnight. Good on you, Rob. And I presume you're not one of these guys that gets up at 5 a.m., are you?
Yeah, right. No.
Not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow.
No.
Classic. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up soon. So we like to wrap up here with a quote and a favorite quote of what we like. So we'll start with you, Ken, first. What's your favorite quote?
Okay. So yeah, you kept muting me. Stop muting my mic.
It's because there's echo.
Oh, there shouldn't be echo. I've got my little buffer screen here, but whatever. So my favorite quote is simply this. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. That is by Donald J. Trump, my hero.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ken. And I will mute you because I'm getting echo on my side, even if you're not hearing it. Very strange. So this can happen. Sometimes the truth about podcasting and online media is sometimes there are tech issues such as echoes. Now over to Rob. What is a favorite motto or quote that you live by?
I think just generally treat others as though you would want to be treated. So just that as a general rule, and I think the world needs more care and love for each other.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. I've got my love heart here again. Yes, love is all you need is love. Dun, da, 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 da. All you need is love. Right. Love is all you need. See, they had it. The Beatles were onto it.
Yep. Early. They were onto it early.
They were onto it early. All you need is love. And then what happened to John Lennon? Well, see, we just got to keep standing.
Not a lot of love there, right?
Not a lot of love. Oh, here we got someone saying you can wear a headset to remove the echo. Yeah, you can. I just don't like those big bulky things, I must say. But yeah, that's another thing. Some people like
I use these little behind the ear, that a lot of broadcasters use. So that's always handy. Yeah.
The little behind the ear trick. It's like a little Inspector Gadget trick.
Yes, it just fits right in. So you can kind of see it a little bit here. But yeah.
Awesome. And Ken, you were saying something there?
So yeah, this is what I use for my microphone. So I put encase my microphone in this. And so because my speaker's right here, and then here's my microphone. So I'll put this over my microphone so it muffles feedback.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it, love it. Thank you so much. And now the echo's gone. And Nick says here, love will shine a light on any darkness. Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely correct. And someone says, all I need is a koala, Facebook user. Thank you so much. That's exactly right.
Right.
A koala or Wonder Woman's always good as well. I always recommend, have some fun with what you do. No, your name's not on StreamYard yet, whoever that is. It might be Dana. Dana was on the other day. She said, my name's not showing. So just allow StreamYard to see your comments. It should be at the top of the stream, or it could just be another glitchy thing happening, which does happen sometimes with technology. However, we do thank you for joining us here today. And my quote for this show is by Margaret Mead. And it's a small group of thoughtful people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. Sending you lots of love. Any final comments, Ken or Rob, before we wrap up, or anyone else joining us on the live? Oh, Sonia. Thank you, Sonia. No, your name didn't show up there. Okay.
I will give one more little bit of piece that I read over here. So it's not necessarily a quote, but it's something that I wrote down and I had pinned to my wall just to remind myself from time to time. You cannot hope for your motivation for the day. You must be intentional about it. Start your day with intention.
I love that.
Well, and follow your passions and your heart in all things that you do, not just podcasting, but podcasting can certainly be a synergizing effect to amplify your passions and to spread them to others. So,
yep. I love what you do, and the money will come. And as Bob Proctor said,
eventually it probably will. So if you're really helping people, that's been my experience, my personal experience.
Yes. And as the late, great Bob Proctor said, who died at 87 recently, worked right up until the final days, and people asked him, how do you find your purpose? And in the video, which you can see on YouTube, he said, just do what you love every single day. Do as much as you can.
Then it's not work.
Then what you love. Exactly. And it's not work. Hence why we do marathon shows here, because we love it. We can just keep chatting with you. However, we are aware there's other things to get done as well in the day. So thank you so much for joining us once again. Thank you, our special guest, Rob Greenlee. Thank you, Ken Kleinberg, my amazing co-host from San Diego and from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
It's a weird name, I have to admit. So.
Rob from Connecticut, and Aldwyn, Altuney, media queen from Queensland. It's quite bizarre when I said that the other day, the media queen from Queensland. It's almost like it was designed for our state here. So thank you so much for joining us here on the Total Truth Show. Check out our Facebook page if you want to see some previous episodes, also BitChute, Rumble, and let us know, what did you get out of this show today? Let us know, what are some things that you got from today? What's some new actions you're going to take moving forward with podcasts or anything else? Sending you lots of love and butterflies as well. Sending you butterflies. Bye for now.
Bye.
See you later.